The second third down, for some reason, it just stuck with me. Is I think it was a sweep play when Juju got tackled from behind the guy.
Yeah.
I think the guy came unblocked up the middle. What did you see had Juju not gotten taken down by a guy who's running?
I think he's still running right now. We missed inside. The left guard had gone down. JD came in, and we missed a combination block inside, or the thing that we did. DK was playing some tight end at that time, and then DK and Leggett had really good blocks on the edge. We had pulled and actually had a hat on a hat for everyone, and if we can get around the edge right there, and that play shouldn't happen. Like we mis-executed inside and let a guy run through our A gap, which should never happen, and the hard blocks were executed the way they needed to, and we missed an opportunity to hit a big play right there.
Dal, I asked Shane this yesterday, but Xavier is just 27 yards away from becoming the fifth Gamecock to eclipse 1,000 yards in a season. We've talked so much about him this year, but for you personally, being at your first year here, seeing everything that's gone on, the injuries with Juice Wells, him having to step up, what does he mean, aside from statistics, to this program?
Everything, because it's not because, like, this is a guy that you get emotional about when you talk about because of his story and where he's come from. And how he did it. And, I got here and everyone was talking about Juice. And it's a funny story because one of the kids on the team, Landon Greer, came to me and was like, I'm telling you, number 17 is a dog. Wait till you see him. And you see this guy, and you're like, wow, like, he's an impressive-looking athlete. But you see his work ethic, man. I talk about it all the time up here. And what a great example for our young players to watch this guy, for Tyshawn Russell and Nick Harbor and Kelton Henderson and C.J. Adams, and just to see how this guy works every day, to the point where we're on a GPS system out there right now, and it's like, hey, let's cut his practice down 15% because he won't take himself out. I sent him a text message last night, and I put myself, Coach Stepp, Coach Day, and Coach Morton in, and I'm like, hey, Zay, you got to trust us, but we got to cut back your reps. And then he hits back, why are you saying that now? Again, I got to give him work now. And I'm like, you're going to get your work. But you got to trust us on this. Like, we got to get you fresh to Saturday. And you're playing through, like, you talk about people banged up and playing through stuff. There's no, like, this. He runs 23 miles an hour, scores 2 touchdowns, goes for 217 yards, and he limps to the sideline. But then it's like when his mindset goes like, hey, I got to go, they're counting on me. I got to go make a play right here. And you talk about the difference between being injured and hurt and playing through those things. Like, the kid's a stud, and he's going to be really good at the next level, and we're blessed to have him, not because he's a great player, because he's a great kid, and he does things the right way. And I want my son watching him at football practice. I want my son to watch him in the offseason doing cone drills, not by himself, but bringing his teammates along with him as well. And he's kind of the Pied Piper when it comes to work, and all the time that he invests in other people. Like, you root for this guy a lot, big time.
Dal, not that many people have been an OC in the NFL and major college football. What do you think about helmet communication technology for college football?
Yeah, I'd love it. I mean, it'd be great. It's just to have the ability to get in Spence's helmet and talk through things. Like, I don't think that people, unless you've done it, understand how helpful it is. Like, you watch some guys early in their career, like Jared Goff and those guys in the Rams, and how they use those things, and they're getting the play call. And it's not just the play call you're getting information. You can give them a tip right here, or if you're in the thing doesn't cut off till 15 seconds, so you could put a running back out wide and motion back into like, hey, you got man coverage right here, and like you're giving the quarterback information to the test. But you can give them information before the ball snapped and help them get through progressions and those things. And I think it cuts down on everyone talks about. And it's same for the defense as well. Like, you want to eliminate stealing signals and all that stuff. Like, that's a big part of it as well. Like, I think it's a tremendous tool. Now, it would greatly affect college football because signals are such a big deal. Even when coming back to I never coached in college football. I was the signal guy for Coach Nutt when I was at Arkansas as a player, and I signaled in the plays to the quarterbacks. And then, like, all of a sudden, it's like just a different layer of stuff that when you go to the NFL, some of these players that get drafted in the NFL or coaches go coach there, like, that's gone. Like, there's no verbal communication. Everything's through the quarterback's headset, and then he's communicating out. So it definitely would change the landscape of the operational procedure as well in college football.
I think y'all done a little bit of the two back stuff, but when you were able to do the three backs on Saturday, what do you feel like you got out of that, and was it sort of like a build to get to that point where
Well,
you're calling
it's a really good question. It's really about getting your best 11 on the field, and now you have an injury with Trey Knox, and he's not be able to play, and Josh Simon can't play 60 snaps, 75 snaps in a game. He can't play every snap. So then it's like you got Juju, DK, who are also versatile players. And for those guys to do what they did in that game, like they essentially learned different positions inside the week. And really, I was super impressed with those guys. DK is basically in the game. He's playing slot receiver, like as a tight end, blocking stuff that tight ends block, and then playing some running back as well. So you can only do that when you have really smart players that have position flexibility, and you can make two back look like one back. You can be in two back personnel, but be in one back sets and still run your plays. Because if you can't do that, then the volume of offense starts stacking on everybody. So you can't say, like, we could say, hey, this play is 11 personnel / 30. But it's now DK's the Y, Juju's the F, Mario's still the H, and it could still be with AB's the F, Josh Simon's the Y. So the volume to be able to put that on people, like you have to have two really smart guys, which we have. And it was really for us to, hey, let's spell our tight ends so that those guys aren't playing 75 snaps a game, and let's get our best 11 on the field because we have these two players that have the ability to do it.
Hey, Dowell, I just want to go back to helmet communication just for a second. Obviously, when you...
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm fine.
So when you came to the college level, was it a hard adjustment for you to go from having the helmet communication in the NFL to having to do signals and all that stuff? And what's that transition kind of been like?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's a game within the game. Like it's completely different than anything. It's so foreign to the NFL. I think when Chip Kelly came to the NFL, they were doing it a little bit when he was in Philadelphia. But outside that, like we had signals that we would give our quarterbacks. They could change a route by receiver, but like you're not looking at the sideline, seeing things, and it's also it creates like this is where the layers start. Like we talked about the signal aspect, but it's also like now you're not like you're watching all these college games. They're doing dummy snap counts. They look back to the sideline, and now the coach is changing the plays from the sideline. Where in the NFL, you'll see the quarterback walk up, or sometimes when it's loud, they'll put their hands. That's the coaches talking to them, and like, hey, you go 19-1 to can it with 18 stretch, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, heads up for weak rotation. So now they're like, hey, I'm getting 18 stretch right here, and so it's just it's a completely different game. It's a different layer of things. In some ways, like high schools and colleges, it's part of our game. It's part of the game that, once you get to the NFL, you're used to it because you've gone through high school and college. Now, when you go from college or from the NFL to college, you're like, wow. And I'd been gone, coached 17 years in the NFL and nothing else. So it was completely different for me. And the 2 years at Arkansas definitely helped me just watching as a position coach, watching the signal procedure, and you start to plan, how would I do things if I decide to become an offensive coordinator again and take over an offense, and you take ideas from other people, and it's and then you start worrying about other things that come with that. So it's a layer, it's a game within the game. You better have good plans. I mean, you see all the stuff. Like they got big things are hiding like signals so people can't see in the box and see your signals and do all those things. Like it is a very big part of our game.
Shane was talking yesterday. I think this is the time of year. This is the time of year where there's NFL scouts. We're getting to the.
It's like amateur hour.
There's guys coming around the building starting to ask about your players and stuff. What do you tell NFL teams about Spencer, about his character, and about what he could bring to a team, athletically wise and arm strength wise, to an NFL team?
The great thing is I get to tell him the truth, and I get to be around him every day and watch how he works and watch how he's handled the adversity of this season. This season has not been ideal for us as a football team. It's not been ideal for us in the quarterback room, and he's dealt with a lot of adversity. Dealt with getting hit and giving up some sacks. So now as a quarterback, how do you handle that? You can't go through great adversity, or you can't go to great prosperity without going through some adversity. And so like our message to him is, how do you handle this? Like, what do you say when you're asked about this in the media? How do you address it? We talk about how other quarterbacks talk in the media and what their message is to the team, and what your message is after a 3-and-out, or what your message is when you're on the sideline to the offensive line or the running backs or tight ends or wide receivers when we give up a sack on a 3rd down and we're off the field. Like, how you handle all that stuff is important, and it's about being a better teammate and about handling that stuff the right way, because a lot of guys don't know how. But some of the experiences that I've learned from coming from the NFL to college football is some of these guys, I'm not knocking anything, and I don't want this to come across the wrong way towards criticism towards anyone, but like, these guys have to be coached in that area as well. And you got to talk about, like, hey, when this stuff happens, like, how would you handle it? Like at the press conference, like when you have press conferences, like, how do you answer these really hard questions, but also be really honest? Like, I believe in the truth, and I don't think you can run from the truth. And most of our fans and you guys as the media, like, you guys know the truth, and you guys ask questions that you're trying to help, you're trying to get to an answer, and you try to do it in a nice way, so you're not a jerk or prick. And we appreciate that as an organization. But as a quarterback, you learn from all that stuff. So, and it's also, you are out front in front of everyone. The hardest job in coaching the SEC or playing quarterback in the SEC or playing in the NFL or playing quarterback in the NFL, the head coach and quarterback, they have the hardest jobs because they're the face of the franchise. They're the face of the program. So being this magnified fishbowl that he gets to go through now is a great indicator for the NFL of who he's going to be when he's not playing. And then you go and you see the throws he makes. Like, you can make a splash tape of this guy that is as good as anybody in the country. I mean, he's got arm talent. He can move. He processes information. He's done a great job protecting the football and taking care of the football. It's something we continue to work on weekly. And he's taking ownership in all that stuff. He's taking ownership in the offense. He's taking ownership in changing plays. And I think when people come and watch him practice, they walk away like, wow, I didn't know he had that much responsibility in the offense. I didn't know he had that much responsibility with protections. Everyone sees, like, you can turn on ESPN and watch his highlights and be like, wow, this kid has a lot of tools. But I don't know that, until you come watch him practice and you really start studying him, you don't understand, like, his ability to sit in the pocket and take a hit and throw the ball accurately and how fast he processes information. Like, that's what they're going to start looking for, and that's what they're going to look at. And Spencer's resume is this tape, and it's been really impressive this year. We still got a long way to go, but he's helped himself tremendously, and I think that people are starting to recognize that.
Okay, time for one more now. Coach Beamer said yesterday Vanderbilt's very opportunistic on defense. Just what have you seen from them?
Yeah, they are. They're a very well coached team. They are, and saying I don't want to take anything away from them because they are very well coached. But in games like this versus teams that do a great job taking the ball away and have a good scheme, it's very sound, and they do a really good job putting their guys in positions to be successful. Games like this really come down to you and like us taking care of the ball and us executing up front and make sure that we're fundamentally sound, because that's when these teams that are opportunistic, like the breakdowns happen, is when you're not fundamentally good enough. Appreciate you guys.